Thank you for being here for our Happy at Home session today. I am so excited to be back. I think I've said that every single day, right? Oh, this has Scrap Smarter in the background because we had our Scrap Smarter session yesterday. If you missed our Scrap Smarter session, oh my gosh, go and check it out. I'm actually going to post the video here publicly this afternoon. And you will want to watch it because there is something special that happens in this video. So make sure that you catch that. It was amazing. We had Sandy Boone from 3 Room Studio on with us, and she shared how to create a scene with stamps. And so she made that thing that I did last week look really, I'm an amateur. Let's just say I'm at amateur level and I'm okay with being there. But when you see somebody that knows what they're doing, do it, it was good. So this is so far my progress on my page that I stamped out with the little scene below. It was so good. Sheila says, it was so fun last night. Thanks for that, Alice. And, yeah, so it was really good. And, my name, just in case you're brand new here, and welcome. My name is Alice Boll, and I run the membership group for scrapbookers at ScrapHappy.org. And we like to do lots of fun different things. Yesterday, we talked all about the load challenge, which is one of our huge challenges that we do a couple of times a year, where we scrapbook every day, a layout a day for a whole month. It is so fun. It is the best thing ever. And yeah, it is so good. Today, we're going on a different track, and I'm trying something new. So please cross your fingers for me and hope that this works, because we tested it, so I think it does. There is always that. So without further ado, what I am going to do is bring my friend Dietra onto screen with us. And let me see, did I set this up right? And here we, yes! Yay! Okay, Dietra, can you talk and we can make sure that your audio is working?
I sure can. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon from windy Wyoming.
Fantastic. Okay, can somebody just give me a quick little thumbs up that they can hear both me and Dietra so that we know that we've got that set up right? Missy, so good. She had her fingers crossed for me. That is good. Yeah, so I wanted to bring Dietra on today. She is my number one helper with the Scrap Happy stuff, and I'm so happy to have somebody in my corner. She handles a lot of the mailing. If you got a prize, chances are Dietra sent it to you. And Missy says, hi, Dietra. Sheila's saying hello. Chrissy says, this will be great. And Alexandra, thank you. She says, it works.
Excellent.
Oh, of course, my mom is calling right now. Sorry, Mom, I'm hanging up on my mom. How bad is that, right? I will call her back after. Yes, yay. Kathy says, both beautiful faces are looking at me. You betcha we are. So why did I bring Dietra? Not just because she's my right-hand gal and super helpful and just a wonderful person, but she does this project and it's magical, and I wanted you guys to kind of have a little glimpse at that and kind of see just a different way you might bring a different approach that you might bring to your memory keeping. And I think it's super fun. So yay. So Dietra, I've roomed with you and we've gone to some different scrappy retreats and stuff. So you have this amazing talent for collecting the ephemera of life and bringing it together into a traveler's notebook. What got you started with this?
I've given this some thought over the last few years because it's my favorite thing to do. And I think it all started at my first Scrap Happy reunion. Was it 2014, I think? Maybe 2013. Anyway, it was in Arizona. And there was a lady named Gina who made stuff out of nothing. I mean, she just would take stuff and just put it together and it would be beautiful. And it really intrigued me. And it was fast. There was not a lot of thought process because I am not a person who likes to put a lot of thought into things. I really enjoy just putting things on a page and moving on. And that's what she was doing. And so after that, I just kind of started doing that. I would find things and make books out of them, traveler's notebooks. Really, before traveler's notebooks were a big thing, I think. Really.
Yeah, like it's not like little books didn't exist, but they
Right.
definitely, like in the scrapbooking world at least, they weren't being used in the way that we think of them now. Sheila says, I'm very excited for today. So I think she kind of sees where we're heading. So shout out to Gina Z, because she did, what it was her thing called, not messy scrapbooking, something like in that line though, right? It was like so much fun. Christy, if you can remember, give a shout out to what Gina Z's stuff was called, because it was just such a different approach to bringing stuff together. Like I remember watching some of her events that she do, and she would take envelopes and she would take packaging and she would just take all of these things and make like kind of like what we would call later a smash book, right? And she was like, it was almost like pre-smash book, I think, when she was doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that technique, what was your first project, and kind of how did you dive in and like kind of take it away, I guess?
Well, my first project, gosh, I wish I had looked at it this morning, but I did not bring that one. But it was the following ScrapHappy reunion that I started doing that. And I have done one ever since, thanks to Hannah, with the instruction that Allison Day gave her. She's always had us making journals at ScrapHappy for the last few years. So I brought one that I made not last year, but the year before. Sorry, I'm reaching over here. I've got everything set out. And this was when we were in Loveland, Colorado. I don't know.
I have mine here too.
I figured you did. In fact, I put those bags together for us. Didn't put mine
cute,
in the
right?
bag.
Like
I figured
the
it'd
little,
be hard to.
the little bag with, and she'd sew little patches onto them. Like it was so fun. I just love this so much. And then everything is all together in the bag. And I was so inspired. I did a good job on this one, but let's have a look at yours. I'm going to bring your screen up so that you're right in the center, so that you're not trying to like figure out where that is.
Okay. All right.
I struggle with it. It's real.
Okay, and please let me know if I need to move one way or the other, because this is a new thing for me. So anyhow, this is what I put together for that reunion. And this was in Loveland. It was in 2018, and it's all printed out down here. It's a picture of all of us ladies. Is there a glare?
There was a little bit of glare, so depending on where it is sitting against the screen. So right now it's good.
Okay. So in here, I put so many things in these. Everybody who came to reunion actually brought stuff. So this here was when we went to the statue garden, and these are pictures of us having fun. This is Hannah, Wildy, and I. Wildy.
Yeah.
I always want to
call her Wild.
She's a wild. Anyhow, Hannah, she's also a Wyoming lady, and so we have been able to get to know each other a little bit. There's a lot of funny 6 points of separation between her and I that aren't very 6 points. But anyway, so I put together all of the little pictures in here, and then people brought stuff, and we took pictures together. And so there's all of those kind of things. Is there any way I can make my picture bigger on my side? Because I can barely see myself. I don't mean to interrupt, but I know this is live.
I think you can expand the corner of the screen if you grab the corner of it.
No.
No.
Oh, well, that's okay. So then this is everything that people brought. So I put all that in there. And then let me go on and go forward here a little bit. I think most of that is what I put in here, but it was fun because there was little bits of ribbon and things that people put, and I did all that. And I did this border around each page so that it kind of was cohesive. I always try to do something cohesive.
Because you're using different supplies on every single page, right? Like, because this is all stuff that people brought kind of representing their area. And this really lets you bring all of those representations from everyone together. Taken identity. Thank you, Chrissy. I knew you'd come up with it. I'm like,
oh, I love it. Yes, exactly. So I use, like, this is Kathy from Washington, for example. And she brought all kinds of little things. There's coffee because they're known for their coffee. But then over here, here's Joy. And I took a piece of washi and I put it in here and folded it over because I wanted to put her whole piece in there. And I didn't want to cover it up. And then Claire from Australia. She got 2 pages because she just had all kinds of things. And so I used, I did the little tip ups like we've talked about. Whoopsie. And so anyhow, and then here's we ate at this restaurant here. And here's a little packet from the restaurant, just so I had the name of the restaurant. This was another restaurant we ate at. And so I get little bits from there. But what my process is I don't bring many supplies. I try not to do a lot of supplies because then that way it forces me to use what I have. Okay. So, and then here's a map, and I always fold in a map of where we are at. So this was one that I did in 2018. Oh, and sorry, I've reached down. Here's the cards that we made, and we've been talking about this card. So I know that we did it in Colorado in 2018. Yeah, I have it in there. And then the little bugs that we did.
Oh, also. I just sent those off to my sister-in-law for her birthday. The little bugs, the little glow bugs, because the lightning bugs or whatever. It was her birthday, and I wanted to send her something that had a little light, and it's actually a glow-in-the-dark card. So that was so fun.
That is cool. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so there was a question. Sheila asked, did you make the books? So the actual base of the book and stuff.
Okay, so that was the project that Hannah brought to us. Is she printed all the paper, that pretty paper that we had with the mountain. She designed that, if I'm not mistaken, and printed it. And then we made the book. And yes, I make all my books now because I enjoy doing that so much more than buying one. It's just something I enjoy doing. So.
And I think that if you look at the whole back of the book, right? Like it's all Perfect. Like one scene, and then we folded it to kind of get your back and your front of the book. Hey, Kathy. Kathy Holiday's here. She said hello. I was finally able to make it today. So Kathy. She's excited to see you. And I think that it was really fun because you taught me a lot through watching your process in making my book too. And that really helped me bring things together so that when people gave me stuff, I copied a lot of your little techniques, right? Like I've got like the little tip-ins, and I've got the pictures of us together in my book. I'm terrible at this. And just different things that fold out. And I took my paper and I actually, instead of using just the copy paper that we were doing, it is just cardstock, Kathy. Different Kathy. It is just a cardstock that we used on the outside. And inside, I had actually brought some watercolor paper with me. It's like a really flat, thin watercolor paper, but I watercolor papered. So like you said, you wanted that cohesive look through your book, even though it wasn't all the same. I did that by watercoloring the backgrounds of my pages to kind of get that same effect, and included all the little embellishments with the stuff for people. So I could show all my friends and all the fun things that they gave us, because we had so many goodies, and it was just a good way to bring all of that together. So this is a good one for getting together with our friends, and it shows a little bit of your travel, but you've done some books that are a little bit more related to travel adventures that you've been on. And so what does that look like when you're not getting all those pieces necessarily from other people?
Okay. Well, this is my favorite thing that I've done. It's in a bag here.
Okay.
And I cannot read the bag. It does say chocolate here, but this was my trip to Ecuador. And so we went for 9 days with a backpack. We had no luggage. We all backpacked. So I had to be really, really creative on this trip. I took a small sewing kit so I could have a small pair of scissors. I mean, they were like less than an inch in a width or length. I took a stapler, a small stapler, and I took some adhesive and just a few other things. But most everything I got on my, and the book that I made. So let me show you this. This is my favorite thing so far. And I was supposed to go to New York in June, and I was really excited because I kind of started this process already for that trip, and it has now been postponed. But that's okay. So I have my bag. I always try to get a bag now because I always have things that I don't put in my book. And so this is the book I made. It's a ring binder. So then that way I had lots of room, and I took a whole bunch with me also. That was something else I took with me so that I could punch holes and put it in this book. So here's my bag, and then this here is Discover Ecuador, and it's got the flag, and it says World Travel, and this is a hard cardboard that I put on here. And then this is a map. And this is where Ecuador is, and this is where I am. So it kind of gave me that idea. I had to prepare. I had to prepare for Ecuador, and I had to get shots. And so I took a picture, and it's a sad face of me getting shot. And they gave me a sticker. I thought that was really cute. I was glad I saved that sticker for my book.
They never give me stickers when I go. Oh my gosh, that would make it a lot better.
Well, let me tell you, I was really sad. I do not like shots. But anyway, so, and I just, I started with the plane trip. And so here's some food we got. And there's my son and I. We're in Denver. And I got vertigo really bad. And so I told the story of that. And it was quite the flight. I've never been sick on an airplane. But let me tell you, I was enough that day. But that's okay. And then I got McDonald's, so I kept the bag from McDonald's, kept my plane tickets. I took a picture of the little map when we were flying. Here's some more food that we got. And here's a brownie that we had that was quite delicious on the airplane. And then here's a customs form. I'd never filled one out, so I kept one of those. And then there's my son and I. We arrived in Ecuador, and I was actually feeling better by that point in time. And I usually, on this trip, I took my sprocket. So my quality of pictures isn't that fantastic, but it's good enough for this project. I usually take my sprocket, or I take my selfie on the airplane. I've never had any problems. The selfie is what I take when I check baggage. So, and then I usually get postcards and put them in here too, just because my pictures are so sketchy. So here's that. And then I made some, put another picture and did some writing. I always grab propaganda is what I call it. And it tells me about things that I've seen. So this is some places we went when we first got to Ecuador. And this was my first room that I stayed in. Hotels are a lot different there. There's no heat normally. Water supply is kind of questionable. But anyhow, this was pretty nice. And I always save all the little things that are in the room. Cards, key cards. my son wrote me a note. So my mom is doing a little travel booklet and of our travels to Ecuador. And generally she asked me to write something about it. But generally I don't want to. This trip was different. I thought it would be fun to write about it. So, and my son at this time was in 7th grade. So it really made me smile because we didn't room together or anything. I just was there as a travel, part of the travel group. So anyhow, so I could go over it. This is really bringing back a lot of memories, and it's fun because you have those little things that really bring those memories back. It's not just, I was here, I was there. It's history because I've gotten the little booklets from the places.
Well, and I think that sometimes like we take pictures. Like it's easy for us to think about taking pictures when we travel, but by bringing all of these extra bits together, it helps us remember a fuller picture of the trip.
Exactly. So, this was, like I said, 9 days. So it was a lot of stuff. All the different candies, and we did some videos of tasting things because they have things there that like the Crunch Bar, but it's different. It's not the same. It's a different taste, and just all the different fun. Oh, the roses. If you give somebody roses in Ecuador, they are offended because roses are so cheap there. It's one of the biggest, I wrote it down somewhere in here, but they grow roses in greenhouses all along the road. So they're really cheap. But it's beautiful, the markets. Here's a picture of the market that we went to, and these are all roses. Yeah. Gosh, this is really bringing back memories. We ate guinea pig. It's a delicacy there. And so I have pictures of us eating the guinea pig. And we actually went to a guinea pig farm. My son got a Panama hat because we went to the Panama Hat Company there. So it's just, and then here's the receipt of buying it. So anyhow, this is my favorite book, and it would take me hours to go through this with you because there's just so much. And like this ribbon, my son found this ribbon on one of his shopping. Whoops. It's Panama or the Ecuador colors, and it was like $1 for 10 yards. And so he brought back these rolls of ribbon to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Because I have it all along the back side of it here too.
Well, and that gives you that extra little bit that kind of ties that whole project together too, right? Because you're able to repeat it when you have a lot of it.
Exactly. And then I also get little charms or, key rings and things and put them on the spine and stuff. So, yeah. So, how's that?
I think that is absolutely wonderful. I'll bring us back onto split screen. And I just wanted to go through kind of maybe like a list if somebody was looking at creating like a list of things that you might not be thinking to put into there. So some of the things that I saw, and you can catch me if I've missed stuff. So maps, packaging, wrappers, tickets, photos, envelopes, bags, postcards, brochures. That's
propaganda.
Key cards, receipts, ribbons off of packaging, charms, key rings. So I think that when I've traveled, lots of times you get enticed into buying some little memento from the trip, whether it's like a magnet for the fridge or a little keychain or something, and you kind of get home and you're like, what am I going to do with this little thing, right? Like you're going to hold this little thing, like what am I going to do with this thing? But this gives you an actual place to say all of these things kind of help tell that story, and they give you a spot to put them so they actually kind of matter, right? I think that combination, if you just had a packaging from candy, it wouldn't be a big deal and you'd be like, why did I save this packaging? But because you've put it all together, it helps to really tell that story. So I'm seeing a lot of people Danielle says, Tammy Lee is watching but unable to comment from her phone. She wants me to let you know how incredible she thinks your books are.
Oh,
Thank
hi,
you,
Tammy.
Tammy Lee, and thank you, Danielle, for passing that along. And Diane says, so cute, Dietra. It's supposed to bring back memories. And oh my gosh, yes, it totally is. Christy says, I think I could get into doing a book like your Ecuador book, easier than putting stuff in a normal traveler's notebook. It's really no thinking or planning. You just punch it, go, and you're brilliant. So she really liked the binder ring style. That was really working for her. And Kathy said it was so cool that both of you were able to go on the trip. And Kathy McKenzie says, I'm really impressed that you took your sprocket in the backpack.
I actually got it as a gift for Mother's Day that year because I wanted it. So our trip was in June, and so my husband got it for me in May, and I was so excited because that's what I really wanted for that trip. So.
Yeah. Oh, poor Sheila. She says, I've never not been sick on an airplane.
Yeah.
That would make traveling so not fun.
No, I don't think I could travel if that happens.
Yeah. And so I really, I think that by bringing those elements together, that it really has made like a tactile experience. And so I did have one that I was very inspired by, and I'm going to show a little bit of this one that I did. And then we're going to I'll go through this, and then we'll talk about toolkits and what you want to take with you, like the minimum supplies that you kind of do pack. So we'll talk about that in a second, but I'll show this. So loving the whole idea of keeping it in a bag so that you're not losing any little bits, but the bag kind of helps to kind of tell the story. This was the bag that I got from the Space Needle. And I'm going to actually put my screen on to like me for a second because I have a hard time going left and right with this. Everybody's like starting to guess what goes into their minimum stuff. So into the bag, because I didn't actually stick them into the album itself, I have some extra stuff. So I have the map and I've got some extra postcards just tucked into the back because I had it in a bag so everything stays together. Christy says propaganda. She's cracking up at that. And Kathy says, I go through the stuff in the evenings when I'm journaling of the day's fun. Exactly. And so I had found a sticker, like super fun thing. This was a pre-made book that it's like Webster's Pages, I think. And as I go through, I was at an event and people had stamps from the area, from Washington. This was partly of an event held in Washington. And so I did bring my selfie printer. I was able to print stuff. And you can see, like, I did a ton of journaling, but then I included a ton of photos. And so this is like a whole little waterfall of photos. And some of them are folded so that they fit into the book. And just cataloging all of the different details from the trip. And then using those stamps that were available to me from other people. You see, I've got a little bit of packaging in here. I do have my tickets in here. This is my ticket from going up the Space Needle. And then packaging from Fudge, Seattle Fudge. So this is me, like, you know, really going deep as I can into using some of those techniques. And you can see, like, I really love adding a little display of photos. There was just so many good moments to share. And I think that by being able to leave myself a lot of space for the journaling and still get a lot of photos, this way of putting them in the center fold, and that feels weird. I don't even want to use that word, centerfold. It has so many other connotations. We're not going there, girls. But yeah, just putting them along the center and then putting in the little flips of the photos, it's allowed me to include so many more moments. And like here you can see I've printed them really small, but by layering them in here, I can have just like these tiny little peaks. And part of that was like looking at the market stalls and all the different things that we saw. So those are some of the tricks that I did, and I continued kind of all the way through with those kind of things. Like we had a bunch of selfies with people, so I've included them in here by making sure that they're all on this little flip. And then big photos, when I had a larger photo, sometimes they wouldn't fit in the book and I didn't want to cut them. So I've actually folded them and included them right along the line here. So folding the photo. And those are some of my little tricks from my book. It was fabulous. I look back at that quite fondly. Joyce says I print thumbnails to use in my journals. Such a good tip, right? Because you kind of need those smaller size of photos. Because the big ones, you just don't have you don't have the space for them. So let's bring Dietra back on and let's talk about things that are in. You said you don't pack a lot of supplies, but you pack some basic supplies so that you can make your projects. And I think basic supplies will change for every person, but this will give you a good starting point and you can always go from there.
So I always try to bring some kind of scissors because I do a lot of fussy cutting. I've been known to fussy cut up newspapers and use the newspaper dates to put for the dates of each day that I'm at the venue or place. I bring adhesive. I bring a hole punch, especially if I'm doing the 3-ring bind or the 3-ring book. A stapler is fun because it adds a little texture and a little dimension to things. I try to bring some kind of watercolor palette, and usually I try to fit everything in a small makeup bag. So like one of the little bags that, was it Studio Calico that used to send out their kits in bags, or one of those. So I have a ton of those bags at home. So I try to take 1 or 2 of those bags with me, and then one of them I use to put all of my supplies in, and the other one I use to put all of my receipts and all of that stuff in until I can find a bag to put everything in. I'm kind of looking at my journal over here going, okay, what else did I take? It changes with everything. If I'm going to a scrapbook, ScrapHappy reunion or something like that, I mean, the world's my oyster.
You have access to more supplies and different things. And I think that it's cool to kind of have those options. Like I really loved at the event that I went to there in Washington. It was a Scrap Gals event, and some of the girls brought their stamps, and you saw me use them there. And I don't have a ton of stamps from Washington and from Seattle, but because they brought them for us to use, they had stamps, they had dies. It was the kind of stuff that you can use without using up, right? And right. I really appreciated that because it let me bring all of those elements into my book without me having to buy all the things, because how many times do I get to go to Seattle? Like, I get to go on this one exciting trip, or, I might get to go back, right? I hope I do because I really enjoyed it. But, it's tough when you're trying to include those elements in there. And that's why having those extra pieces that you pick up along the way, they really help you bring those elements of the trip. Like you have those pieces of Ecuador in your book, right?
Right. I usually try to take some kind of generic sticker too. A travel type sticker, like maybe a booklet of stickers or a few sheets of stickers, but something about travel, ventures and things like that. And maybe some puffy stickers, but I don't really take any letter stickers or any of that kind of thing because I try to force myself to use what I can find in my search. Now, I do have a big book. I was in Maui for 2 weeks and I did a book there. because I always try to get my books done while I'm on the trip, because then that way I'm home and I'm done. Sometimes I need to do maybe the last day or so, but that Ecuador book, I pretty much did all of it on the trip because I was sitting by myself on the airplane on the way home. And so I had three trays that I could stretch out.
That is lucky. That is so lucky.
It was so cool. And my sprocket was all charged, so I just rolled out the pages.
Yeah.
But like when I went to Hawaii, I tried to find some scrapbook supplies while I was there. Maybe a stamp, or maybe, some ink that was manufactured in Hawaii. And then that way it's part of, the book, but also it's a souvenir from that trip. So I have a couple Hawaii stamps, and, I don't use them, but they're part of my my trip and that souvenir that I brought home. And then they're in my book too. So they make me remember where I got them and that kind of thing. So I'm always looking, kind of like the ribbon. When I told my son, I said, if you find some ribbon, buy it for me or whatever, and then he just was like always buying me ribbon after that. So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, well, and it's so great that he was able to get involved in that with you, right? And that you were able to be specific enough to give him instructions that's something useful. So it's not just like, find me something for my book. That could be hard, right? It's like, right. He's seen what you're looking for. He's seen what you're using. But when you give him like this specific mission, especially when you're going to a market or something like that, that was super smart.
Well, it's amazing, when you shop in different places, the things that they have, and they had tons of material stores. And so it's like, okay, what can we get in a material store? Well, I'm not going to haul a bolt of material home in a backpack, but I figured ribbon, I could fit it somewhere. So
Joyce says lately she's been including a weather report for the day in her book. So it's super good. And I know that you can get an app for on your phone, and it's like lets you put the weather right onto the pictures and stuff. And that's a really fun thing. So if you can remember to take those, I'm so terrible for not remembering to do it when I travel, which I would totally love to do. It's like the perfect time. But if you can remember to do something like that. I think anytime you bring a little bit of consistency into it, that really helps too, is that little bit of consistency that you see in the projects. Yeah. So with these books, how do you store them? Because I guarantee somebody is sitting there thinking, but like now that you have like all these little books, and some of them are in packaging and some of them aren't in packaging, and they kind of all look a little different, how do you keep these together? So
I have them on a bookshelf. The whole bookshelf is so when you and I started talking about doing this, I just went through the bookshelf and went, ooh, I like this one. Ooh. And it was so fun to look through them. I have one from last year from Canada, and it was like, oh my goodness, all the memories came back.
Okay, we want to see a little bit of that one.
Oh, okay. Well, if you were there, this is the reunion last year up in Calgary.
And if you missed it, this is what you missed. And next time we can have one of these things, make sure you come. They're super good.
Like I said, I always try to have a bag. So she had some flags hanging, and so I sewed the flags together and made a bag for
that was like seriously like the most genius thing I've ever seen. That was like so good. It was such a good moment because they were just like a banner, right? Like it was like a little banner, and at the end of the time you're like, can I have these? I'm like, well, yeah, they're going in the garbage.
Yeah, so that's what I did with the banner. And let's see. So I misplaced my passport when I got home. So I only have Canada in my passport, and I had to get a new one. So there's that. I just put it in there with it. And so here is my book. And this is one that, we made these, didn't we? Did I make this?
I think you brought us covers for them or something so that we could all make them.
Yeah. So, and then I have maps here that are just tucked into the bag. And when we went to Banff, there's some booklets in there.
Yeah.
And then I always like to do stuff like this. I think it's fun to have ribbons and things. So, like, this is the maple leaf, and I found some little. I think that Alice actually gave us this little pin of the rose, so that's in there. Let's see what else is in here. It's that same type of thing. I have everybody's items that they gave us, and that was fun. This was probably my favorite. Jane gave us red vine licorice, and I have the licorice wrapper.
All the candies, and like so lots of them were like baseball related because she really loves baseball. That was so good.
I ate every single one of them and enjoyed it. Let's see here. Gosh, there's just so many memories looking through this. Just all the different. I'm really big on business cards. I get a lot of business cards because I like to remember where I've gone.
And that works really good for other places, like not just people. Like I think we think of business cards as something for like people to exchange them. But like when you go to a restaurant or something, they often have a business card, and sometimes they have the logo on the business card, and then you kind of have that extra little touch of something. Sheila says it's interesting. We never get our passport stamped going into Canada.
Yeah. So then you and I did a little photo shoot in the, what kind of flowers were those?
In the canola field. In the canola.
Yeah, so here's our pictures. There's Alice and there's me and our photo shoot. And, I take just pictures of the road and different things. So it was fun. It's fun for me. And I love to have a map because I always mark where I've been. And then I sometimes have a little place for my receipts. And so I can just pull those out. Yeah. So I don't know if you want me to share what I'm doing for the COVID-19 stuff.
I would really like to see that. I thought that's interesting that you're making this. But before we could do that, I just saw a couple of great ideas in here where people were sharing other ways that they have stored them. So you have yours on a bookcase. I also have mine on a bookcase. They're actually in front of some other some magazines, actually, in front of my scrapbook magazines, because I didn't need a huge amount of shelf space. So I have my magazines back there, and then I have my little traveler's notebooks lined up right in front of them, which means that they're not like kind of getting lost way back in a deep shelf. But like the suggestions are baskets. Joyce says hers are in a basket on the floor by the sofa. Visitors often pick them up and look. And I saw suitcases, baskets. So there's a few other little good ideas. Kathy had said baskets and old suitcases. Yeah, so there's some good ideas for other ways that you can keep them. And I like having that idea where people might be able to just pick it up and just thumb through and kind of see a little bit of that fun stuff. So
I've had some really interesting reactions, though, when people look through and they're like, why do you have candy bar wrappers in this book? And I'm like, well, that's part of my memory. But that's okay. It's my memories,
Chrissy said, when I went through customs into Canada, some grumpy guy was growling at everyone that they were not stamping passports.
Oh, okay.
So if you got yours stamped, they must have really liked you.
I don't.
Sheila says they just take it, ask where we're going, and hand it back. I'm afraid if we asked, we'd get pulled over for a car search. Yeah, I know.
Oh boy, I've had that happen before going into Canada. That's not fun. That's another story for another day.
It's like, okay, just do your thing. We'll just wait, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said you're working on a project, like on a notebook, about this COVID-19. So I'm really curious, like, what kind of things are you putting in there? What are you gathering? Just show us.
Okay. So, we're all seeing all of these beautiful books, Ali Edwards and just all the beauty. And I was trying to be inspired by doing something like that, and I just couldn't find it in me. So, and I looked through all my traveler's notebooks that I had and all my blank ones, and I thought, no, I need to do something different. And like most of us, we probably have all watched way too many YouTube videos. And I think that I'm starting to get an overload because I'm being very critical of some of the people I've always enjoyed. So I need to slow down on that. But one lady in particular, I think is it Paper Outpost is her name, and she does junk journals. And I was somewhat intrigued with what she was doing, but I'm not totally on board with everything. So I kind of took my own take on it, and I took an old book that I had, and this is where the name of the book was. And so I just painted over it, and then I broke out some stencils because watching Alice's shows for the last month and her organizing shows, I have found that I have a lot more supplies than I thought I did. Well, I knew they were there. I just didn't know where they were. So anyway, so I used a stencil and just kind of put some texture on this book. And this is a hardback book. It was an old book I got at the Salvation Army. And I took the regular book out of it, and I put my own books in it. And that's a whole process. If anybody's interested, I can kind of maybe visit with you off camera about it. But anyhow, so I thought I would put this together. And so this is what I started. And so the first page, I did a little pocket. And this is something I got in the mail. And it's what we should do to protect ourselves. And I thought, you know what? That's a good way of starting this whole book. And so this is some material I used in here to kind of help bind the book up. And then I broke out some of my inks and did some inking. I still am going to put stuff on all of this. It's pretty empty, but I've done some things. So everybody had the toilet paper stuff happen to them. It was a worldwide thing. Well, I didn't believe it until we went to the grocery store. And if you see on this picture, my son is laying where the toilet paper is. And then because I organized my stamps, I found this old stamp by Unity Stamps. In fact, I have it with me. And it's got toilet paper and poop. And it says, shit just got real. And we've been through lots of crap. And I thought, you know what? That is perfect for the beginning of my book. So anyhow, it's this cute little stamp here by Unity Stamps. So I don't know if they still have it, but I just couldn't believe I found that. And so I was like, yes. And then like right here, this came off of Taco Bell. It has been giving free tacos every Tuesday here in Wyoming. And so I actually printed out a Taco Bell taco and made a little journaling about it. But this little sticker was on their bag, so I put it on a page, and I'm going to journal about that. And then I put in just pages. I decided to start doing Instacart, being a driver and delivering groceries. So I put my little card thing that I got and some journaling about that. I'm starting to journal about my funny orders that I've been taking. Some people just buy like 4 items and have them delivered, which just amazes me. For Easter, I wanted something a little bit different than just your regular Easter baskets because my son's 15 and he wanted an Easter egg hunt, but I told him I didn't have the energy to do it. So we did a tasting of candy bars. So I bought these interesting candy bars and I put all the wrappers on the page, and I journaled about our tasting of the candy bars in here. And then which ones were our favorites, which is, I guess it's over here. Yeah, which ones were our favorites? They're numbered. And let's see what else. Oh, here's a pocket with a letter from our school that I just got today about what might be happening. Here's a little pocket that I put in, and it's a quarantine interview that my son filled out for me, so I can look back on that. Let's see. Flowers have just started blooming here, so here's a picture of crocus. And it was just a beautiful day when I took that picture. Here's a new candy bar I found, and it's really yummy, so I wanted to put that in. And I bought it yesterday, and it's Earth Day, so I thought that was cool because part of the money goes to preservation of bald eagles. And, I guess that's about it. But I have all kinds of things that I've put together, and then when I feel up to it, I just put it in here.
Just pop them in. Yeah, so I'm seeing lots of stuff that says that this is a cool idea, and the hilariousness of some of it, right? Like the toilet paper stuff. But I think that by bringing all these things together, and I've seen some really good internet memes that have been shared online, and like some of those might be perfect to kind of print and throw in there. And it's just kind of gives you a chance to kind of get like the extreme, but also focus on the positive. Like you've got, the toilet paper crisis, you got message from the president, and then you also have like the flowers that are blooming in your yard right now. So it's kind of like a mixture of everything, and like it brings that whole experience, and it's not just like everything is horrible. There's kind of all these layers that are in this.
And that's really what I'm trying to do.
Joyce says, do you foresee I'm Dietra and I'm addicted to candy bars in the future? No, it was a tasting. It's like wine tasting.
It was. I cut them up. I put them on plates, and then my son and my husband had no clue what they were. So they had to guess what they were first, and then we decided which ones were our favorites. So I think the birthday cake Kit Kat was the least favorite of them all, but it tasted to me like a frosted animal cracker, the pink and white ones. And so it brought me back to my childhood, and I actually wrote that in there because it was just like, oh, this is so good, but oh, it's so sweet.
Danelle says this is so good. Lael Concord is doing a COVID traveler's notebook to keep memories of during this time. Thank you for showing us yours, Dietra. It's really inspiring me, as usual, she says.
Thank you. I'm so sad I won't be able to see your face this year.
Not in person.
I know.
I know. Yeah, and I just think like it covered so many different things, like information that you receive government-wise. It has info from the school. It has info about the snacks that you're enjoying because, quarantine snacks are a thing. Photos from the time. So I think you're pulling in lots of the different things, kind of like what we saw with the travel. But like we're sitting in this time where we're like we literally can't travel. So this is a really interesting way to kind of look at another way of creating a book that tells of a certain experience that is happening right now. So thank you so much for sharing that. If people are interested in getting started, like what would your best like get started suggestion be? Is there like a kind of notebook that would be a great way to start? Are they overthinking it if they're worried about that? Like where do you start if you want to try a project like this?
Probably looking at things differently, just slowing down and just looking around you more. If I was to tell you the truth, because for me, it seemed like whenever I was on a trip or doing things, I was just rush. But like you were saying, memes, you should see my camera roll right now. I just haven't had a chance, and I'm almost out of stuff. So I ordered a bunch of film, or like the
photo paper and stuff.
Paper, thank you. From Amazon yesterday. So I'm like, I only have one piece left. I need to get some more. So it's really slowing down and just kind of thinking about how things mean to you first. A traveler's notebook is fantastic if you're going to do something like I'm doing for like the COVID stuff, I think. But for me, I needed something raw, I think, because I'm going to do a lot of personal journaling in it, probably through pockets and just putting hidden journaling, because it's been an up and down thing, having a son at home and a husband who works in energy and not knowing. So, those are all personal things, but I want to put those in there, and I just couldn't see it being pretty for me. But I think that a traveler's notebook, I've been watching Lael Concard, and I've really enjoyed her traveler's notebook classes that she's been giving. There's been so many free things like that online. It's been fun doing this daily too, Monday through Friday, and just getting other ideas. So I think that maybe just figuring out where you want to put them, like a traveler's notebook, or if you want to make your own. And then just looking, when you go to do things, just looking for propaganda.
So Sheila's asking, what size was the cover of the original one you showed? And I think that was the Colorado one.
Yeah.
And
so it's
go ahead.
Yeah, it's I think 4 1/4 by 8, maybe.
Yeah.
I have it. Yeah.
4 1/4 by 8 1/4. If I just pull mine out here. So if you're looking at like a regular piece of like notebook paper, it's folded in half and then it's a little shorter. So. Yeah.
And you can be pretty chunky with them, but some people don't like chunk. It doesn't bother me. I feel like the more crunchy, the better.
I think that it makes it really fun and tactile. And at first, like, we're so used to, like, trying to make pages that aren't overbursting, right? And, like, we need to give the pages space so they can all sit nice. And we don't want things to squish together. But that's kind of not the point when you're doing these kind of books, right? And it kind of almost goes against it. Like, the more it's kind of mashed all together, the better it almost becomes. So I think that it's really, like you said, like looking at things differently. It's taking a different perspective to the project.
I think I do have a candy bar problem though. Because I'm looking at, maybe it's just because that's what I eat when I'm on travels, because I don't normally eat them.
I think it's a really good way to remember the different things that are available, because when you travel, like we always think like, oh, candy bars, that they're just the same everywhere, but they're not. And even from being a Canadian and going to the US, like I think we have everything that you have. I really always think that. And then we go and we're like, oh yeah, they don't have that flavor of chips here. What is this flavor of chips? I've never had those before. And I've never had a chocolate bar like this before. And you come here and you're like, okay, you guys have to have Smarties. These are real Smarties because they have chocolate.
They're in my
other
book.
ones are called Rockets, guys. Like, not that mine is actually right and yours is like wrong. Like maybe ours are different. They're different, right?
Right.
They're different. And it's just super funny that, we have these different experiences, and I think it's like the little things. Like we maybe can't take that meal home with us, but that wrapper of that little treat that we had along the way is a good way to kind of bring that with us. Like we can take pictures of our meals, and sometimes that's a really fun thing to kind of include when you travel and you're having these great experiences. But yeah, the little wrappers, and it's just funny, like seeing the differences. The first time I saw a birthday cake Oreo, you talked about the birthday cake Kit Kat, the birthday cake Oreo cookies. Seriously? I'm like, oh, how dare they wreck Oreo cookies? And then I ate one. I'm like, these are the best thing ever. So it just depends like on that experience. But when you try something new, you just never know what's out there. And dang, I have not seen any of those birthday cake Oreos for a while. Although I haven't been in a store anywhere for a while.
Well, I bought some Oreos right when this all started, and they had trolls on them. And I thought, oh, these are fun. I love the packaging. In fact, it's at home on my desk. It's going in my journal. And they had Pop Rocks inside of the Oreo filling. And I looked at my husband, like, my mouth is making noise. They were quite delicious, but I felt it was just so weird.
I did have some. They weren't troll. They were something else that they'd come out with, the Pop Rocks ones. And it was so funny because, you think that's going to be horrible. And then it wasn't.
Oh,
It was not like my new all-time favorite Oreo, which the birthday cake ones have become, I will say. And now I am craving Oreos. And you're all welcome. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I think this is wonderful. I think they're a super fun little project. I know that since I've seen the way you approach it and like how you just sit down and you just add like the little pieces as you go. So when you get home, that project is done and you see it and it's just like, ta-da, I made this thing and this is my whole trip. And I just loved that part of it so much. So thank you, Dietra, for agreeing to come on here and share that with us. I see that we've had a lot of enthusiastic people. Can I ask you guys to give us that little thumbs up? Give us the extra little thumbs up and be like, hey, this was awesome. I love it. I love the tips. I super appreciate that. And I just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you to everyone for being here. If people would like to find you on Instagram, you have a public Instagram? People can come and see that stuff? You're like,
I do. I don't know.
Don't use it? Okay, so Instagram is not the place. Come
Oh, well, I do use it, but I don't know what my name is. I think it's Dietra Kessel.
Okay.
I know that on Facebook I'm DK.
DK, like DEK.
Y.
What? KAY.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear.
And I was going to say too, I might do a YouTube video of just walking, or when I'm done with this journal. It might be a little while, but when I'm done with this, I might just do a YouTube and just show the finished product. So I'll let you know about that, Alice.
That'd be awesome. So on Instagram, if you're trying to find her, it's Dietra_K. It's DIETRA_K. There you go. So now people can come and find you there.
Okay.
So thank you so much, everyone. Lemon Oreos. Oh my gosh. You guys are going to tempt me. That sounds delicious. Thank you so much for joining me for today. If you missed our Scrap Smarter session yesterday, I'm going to literally go right now and post up the replay. I'm actually going to make it public here on YouTube, which I don't normally do. You're going to only have access to it for 1 week. So you got to catch it now. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a reason that you're going to want to catch it now because there's something good. Tease, hint, hint. So that was really awesome. And we had the best time with Sandy. Her project, amazing. And if you don't look for it here on YouTube, you can actually go right over to scraphappy.org. And in the menu, it says Scrap Smarter. And that's where all the replay is. I'll even have the project separate there. So you can go in and just watch that project again and just see like the genius of her masking technique. It is so good. So good. So awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you for those thumbs up. You're so sweet. I love it. And I will be back tomorrow. We've finally reached the day. We are going to do stencils. I have lots of ideas for stencils. It's going to be fun. We're going to like actually play and use a little bit of stuff. We're going to test out some stuff. I have this fabulous Vicky Boutin paste stuff. It is texture paste that I have not even opened. It literally has the lid on it. So it's not even open. This needs to be open. How have I had it in my stash for this long and never got to use it? So that's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to play with stencils. I'll show you my organization for stencils. We'll play with some stencils. I'll show you projects I've made with stencils. It's going to be like the stencil, like the ultimate stencil day ever. So it's going to be super fun. So hopefully I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place for our Happy at Home session. And hopefully today's session makes you a little happier at home too. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.